find their seats. I know that folks are there getting their food, continue on. But I do want to get us started here today because we have had such an amazing couple of days so far, right? Has it not been fantastic to be back together in person? There are so many people here that I had only seen in Zoom, and I was like, I know you. Why do I know you? I was like, oh, right, yeah, that's right. It's like, but I see your whole body now, and you're like 4 feet taller than I thought. So there's been a lot of that. A lot of people are taller than I thought. Karen is awesome. But just to welcome you all here to our Diversity in Aquatics Gala. I am Stephanie Elam. I'm on the board of directors for anyone who I have somehow managed to not talk to in the last couple of days. I'm so glad that everyone can be here together. And we are going to celebrate people who are making a difference in the pool, around the pool, near the pool, around, whatever it has to be to make it so that people are safe. And I say this to people all the time, swimming is the only sport that will save your life. And so the people here in this room are working on that very idea, some way, somehow, and changing what that looks like. And so we're going to celebrate the people that are doing this work, some of the people that are doing this work tonight. But while you all enjoy dinner, we're going to start off by having a little bit of a screening, if you will. And so I want to invite up here an Emmy Award-winning director, producer, and photographer from South Florida, Kathleen Dean, and she is going to introduce us to ourselves. Kathleen?
Thank you. It is really an honor to be here. I've been active with the South Florida Diversity and Aquatics crew for, I think, about 7 years now. And it was that relationship that sort of inspired this documentary film. So, from seaweed to lost beach balls, sun seekers bump into all sorts of surprises swimming along Florida's iconic beaches. For Black swimmers, however, there's a complex history floating on Florida's blue waters, one of segregation and violence, but also one of protest and resistance. This film explores those themes along with our cultural, historical relationship to water. I hope you enjoy it.
So as we stand here at this mangrove forest at the beach, it reminds me of what the existence was for indigenous people, Black and brown people throughout the Americas, North and South, throughout the Caribbean, as well as Africa and any tropical climate near the equator throughout the world. Black and brown people have relationships with the water because most civilizations were founded near major bodies of water. Most people on a daily basis had a relationship with water daily. By choice, they set up their habitats near and on water. When I say on water, I mean literally. Some African tribes tribes in other parts of the world that created huts on stilts to be in the water, on the water, under the water. And when I say under the water, I also mean literally. We're talking about ancient times, pre-colonial, pre-slave trade, pre-European conquest, where the indigenous people were still intact in their everyday lifestyle, and they would swim on the water. They would navigate on the water also with canoes and small boats. They would swim under, where they would dive down and get crustaceans for part of their ceremonies, for foods, for sustenance. Some of these things were also traded, so that they had relationships with other people. So they traveled on the water. They used water for bathing, for hygiene, for recreation, for leisure, and for spiritual practices. So there was a deep daily relationship with water, and that was the norm. Even here in the Americas, the indigenous people that here in South Florida, the sequester, they inhabited all this land here. These facts are not in dispute. We've learned this over the time that this information was being collected and gathered by a collection of researchers and resources that brought it to our attention. We now know it's undisputed fact that people, black and brown people, the African diaspora, were powerful, solid swimmers. They had a swimming culture. They had a water culture. They had a marine culture if they were near their coastal areas. They had relationships with lakes and rivers. Then something disrupted them. So their dominance as the swimmers of the world and the aquatic people of the world was impacted by European conquest.
Arrested Negro and white demonstrators clad in bathing suits jumped into the pool. Rock, frantic with rage, began dumping an acid cleaning agent into the water, apparently without harmful effect to the uninvited swimmers. Finally, an off-duty policeman leaped into the pool and began swinging at the demonstrators. The swimmers were dragged roughly from the water to waiting police medics. WCKT newsman Roger Burnham, who filmed these scenes, was manhandled and threatened by a white observer. He was struck twice by law enforcement officers.
As the value of water for everyday living, for sanitation and for recreation started to go up, for European Americans in the early part of the 19th century, late part of the 18th century, and a mechanism went into place to teach people to swim, to be safe around water. And this mechanism was done with private and government funds. It was done on a massive scale, and it was done all across the nation. So to get people to fall in love with water, there was this whole mechanism of marketing and to create a culture and a sense of fun and joy around water, not just for water safety, though water safety was at its foundation, but it was geared toward white people.
And then we come up to the Second World War, where African Americans were enlisted and drafted into the military just like whites. And when the wars were fought overseas across border, there was a very important need for people to learn to swim, for the soldiers and sailors to learn to swim. And in these swim lesson classes, African Americans who came into the military were judged to be 80% non-swimmers. And when we say, go back again, what does swimming mean? Swim 100 yards without stopping and stay in the water afloat for 15 minutes. So 80% couldn't do it, but by the end of the Second World War, most of the soldiers and sailors were taught to swim. And when they came back here in Florida and everywhere, they demanded the right to have access to swimming facilities.
And then I swim, drowning faster than I could remember how to hold my breath. My lungs filled with the ocean until I was her and she was me. Until it was only her salty, sweet, suffocating voices of my people telling me not to let her in like I had her voice, telling me to just let go. My grandmother telling me to relax, that everything would be just fine as I battled the ocean for my soul. I could have sworn I heard my grandmother telling me to wade in the water.
Quite often, during slavery, many places around the United States and the Caribbean, there was a water culture. There was still a connection to it. But as time went on, and water became coveted more and more by whites, and they wanted to build on or near waterways, they wanted to inhabit them for themselves, they wanted to keep black and brown people away, because black and brown people were seen as inferior, and whites were superior. So during segregation and colonization, and even South Africa, for example, had the same practices. So they had all white beaches, just like here in Florida, you had all white beaches. Black and brown people could not go to that beach. They had to be relegated to somewhere else that was dangerous, or they had nowhere to go.
And before Brown versus Board of Education, there were movements in some cities, and African Americans went and party groups, and were resisted by white people, whether it be at beaches or at pools. And a lot of the great pools that were built before the war closed down because of the racial animosity that was taking place, and justifiable. White people didn't go to them. The places were no longer economically viable. And then you have Brown versus Board of Education and still swimming facilities because of the fear of the white population of mixing the races and the genders together. That this would be something that would be sexually taboo. The white people didn't want white women swimming with black men and vice versa because of the attraction of opposites. So a lot of the great pools closed down. And in an effort to save the decisions of Plessy versus Ferguson of separate but equal, white communities like here in Fort Lauderdale built a pool for African Americans to use. So there were colored YMCAs, there were colored pools that were built, and there were vibrant swim teams and swim programs and activities around these pools in Black America. And there were leagues and swim leagues. Here in Florida, there was a colored high school swimming state championships. There was a national AAU colored championships that mostly black YMCAs participated in.
So Dr. Von D. Mizell was a member of the historically black neighborhood of Cisco. And at that time, if you can imagine, the neighborhood had to have its own hospital, its own school, because whites didn't want to service black people. Black people could leave the black neighborhood to service white people, and in order to get to Fort Lauderdale Beach at the time, you had to have an ID card issued by the police department that said you could have access to go over Dixie Highway, to get to the beach, to clean somebody's house or deliver some product or to work on do some kind of work. They had to have an ID card. But they didn't have access to the water. And this is a direct result of losing access to the Gulf Mile. But Dr. Von D. Mizell and Miss Eula Johnson Clark, they were civil rights activists, and I believe she was a member, she was the lead of the NAACP. They organized and said, listen, we have to do something. This is to live in Florida and can smell the beach but can't access the beach is unacceptable. And we pay taxes. We work with white people. We want access to water. So they organized, and in the 1950s and 60s, went into Fort Lauderdale Beach, got in the water, and was subject to beatings and arrest by the police to draw attention to the racial injustice. The Fort Lauderdale government responded quickly because they didn't want that negative attention as they were trying to grow the industry of coming to Florida for fun and relaxation. They didn't want all that violence and things going on, so that's when they created the historically black beach in David Beach in response to the Dr. Von Mazel protest and Miss Eula Clark Johnson. And that's why the park is named after them today. Even though it was a historically black beach, the person who was the park was named after was the lawyer for the city, a white guy, who filed the papers. Also, he filed the papers. His name was on the paperwork to establish this as the Black Beach, and it was named after him, John U. Lloyd State Park. And it's just 5 years ago that the name was changed, and it was giving credit to and homage to the history, the civil rights activists who demanded and asked for that beach. So what we lose when we don't access the water as a people, as a culture, as a society, there's an economic loss. There's a spiritual loss when we don't have a relationship to water. There's a physical health and wellness loss. There's a social loss. There is a tradition loss that anchors us to the past. We lose that connection to ourselves from the past, and it's measurable, and that's a fact.
Just like her Sunday hymns, I saw her clapping with the choir, smiling through her scripture, singing all I could save her life. I think she saved my life. Her voice brought me back up to the surface and back to her. I felt freedom at the bottom of the ocean. Almost cost me my life. Too big to bring back with me, so instead I brought back a piece of the sea, lodged in my soul forever, follows me wherever I go, so I know there is a piece of me in this great big monster, a piece of monster in me, and therefore, it can never hurt. For now, whenever I hear the ocean's call, all I hear is the sound of my ancestors telling me to just keep swimming. All I hear is my grandmother's voice telling me everything will be just fine. All I hear is freedom.
First of all, I just want to say a huge thank you to Kathleen Dean for putting this together. So can you give another round of applause? This film has, she was very humble, but has won so many different awards across the country, and she has been traveling and carrying the name, and we're just so privileged to be a part of this film to highlight and to, as you see, to have a historical narrative in this form, in this way. Kathleen, thank you. Thank you for selecting us. Thank you for carrying us along with you in that journey. And I also want to say a big thank you to Thaddeus for that narration and the history. For that film. So you'll see this around. She is still putting it into film festivals. We'll make sure to highlight it on our social media so that we can continue to support the efforts that she is doing to highlight the importance of swimming and carrying it together. I'm going to go to next is part of our program is we've been very fortunate here. We've had, as far as diversity in aquatics and what we've been able to do, we have been able to reach many different people and many different organizations with our message and what we are looking forward to seeing and what we want to see in aquatics. A couple of weeks ago, Dr. Quash and I, as we were getting together pieces of the convention, we were approached by Nike Swim. And a huge shout out to Nike Swim. They have been, I don't know if you've noticed on social media, they have been very gracious to share their social media channels along with us and highlighting the convention. So I just want to say thank you, Nike Swim. For that, because we are small but mighty, and it does take efforts and collaborations like that to make that happen. But part of it has been a great story that Nike Swim has shared with us, which I'll introduce our next guest to come speak up here on the stage, is Marco Chesto. And the story of what he has overcome and what he has done and what he is advocating for, and his voice is so very important. But not only that, he has taken the initiative and said, guess what? I want to learn how to swim, and it's for my kids. And he is championing that along. And someone as celebrated and as award-winning as he is, he's a world champion marathon runner. I try to run 2 marathons. But to have him into the world of marathon and his reach and his breadth and what he has done to be into the world of aquatics, we thank you for that. And we thank you for carrying that message and what he is going to do there afterwards. But I'm not going to steal all his thunder, y'all, because he's got a great speech. Y'all heard a little bit about him earlier during the panels, but I'm going to turn over the mic to our guest speaker today, Marco Chesto.
Good evening, everyone. I want to start with a warning. There's nothing really much that I'm going to say about swimming because I know nothing about it. But I wanted to learn how to swim because I have control issues. I am a dad. I have 3 girls, 10, 6, and 5. But then we moved from Alaska to Florida, and my kids love water. But then every time they're swimming, I get so nervous because I'm thinking, what if they need help? What do I do? I can't just watch my kid needing help and not being able to help. So I talked to my wife. I said, I really want to learn how to swim. But there are a few things that disqualified me from swimming because I started watching videos and I saw people who are swimming flipping their feet in order to swim. And that is the part that I missed. I don't have any feet. I am just here being held by air to be able to stand in front of you. Anyway, proceed. So, but that was not a deterrent to me because there is no other option. The attention now is on me after the last time. So there was no substitute for that. What would I substitute for safety of my kids when they're in the water? Whether I had legs or not have hands, I had only one option, to learn how to swim. So I committed and went to the pool. The first time in the water, I couldn't even get in the water. The instructor gave me a lot of instruction. One of them was, when you are inside the water, you exhale. And that was it. That was easy. As I was in the water, There was this other part that they didn't tell me. Do not inhale when you're in the water. And I did. But then it was a learning moment for me too. I learned that through your mistakes, you can, it's a catapult. It's launching you so that you can go really far because you've learned from that mistake. It's not a quitting mechanism. So it really helped me. And what I really love to want to talk about tonight is running. I am a runner. But then I realized too, if you were to ask here tonight, the one thing that you need to have in order to run would be your feet, right? But I'm here running without them. So what do I learn from my mistake of getting tired of my feet and getting them out of my system? I learned that there's this fallacy somewhere in our heads that says, in order for you to do something, you need A, B, C, D. Success. What do you need to be successful? Money, you need to be famous, to know someone, you need this. And the other thing is, you need to have an American accent. I don't even have that either. People ask me, oh, you have an accent. But then I'm like, what do we call the American part that doesn't have the Kenyan accent in there? Is that an accent? It is. So, those little things that we have in our minds thinking we need 100% for we to perform is not true. No legs, 2 prosthetics. I have ran 6 marathons and all were under 3 hours. My fastest being New York recently, 2:35. And if you've ran a marathon, or if you've been to New York, there's this part of New York called Central Park. It's a nice place that you should finish the marathon. But these people decided to finish it a little farther up on 72nd Avenue, where you have to go all the way. This hill like you've not ran 23 miles already. And I ran that in 2:35, but then there's this thing that I'm still learning about myself, that the power of the mind. All of you talking, if you put your mind in it, you will be able to do it. So I said, if I can do a run without feet, I can swim. Fish don't have feet. Good swimmers. The diversity part of swimming. I am a religious guy, and I believe that God created and designed the planet perfect. And when he was making it, he's sitting there going, how am I going to make it so beautiful? He covered it. Even now, as I'm sitting here, I don't see somebody with like one color cloth. I was checking if I did. We all have different colors, and it's so beautiful. If you can come up here and look, it's so nice. And even their faces in here, it's so beautiful. And how can we get to make our swimming pool to be as decorated as we want it to be? But I know we are headed there because if we were not ready to do that, we wouldn't have this conference. This conference tells us that there is something wrong that needs to be fixed. But then at the same time, wherever these people who want to swim are, you don't have to have a pool in your neighborhood for you to be a swimmer. Back in Kenya, my mom's house, there's no swimming pool. It's like 100 miles away. I don't even know if there is 100 miles away from the house. But the willingness in us to do something is there. The The only part is when we start modifying our thoughts, like, okay, I should do this, but then, and then we try to get away from the point. Imagine every time you wanted to do something, you would start with the possibility part of it. Like, yes, I want to land to the moon tomorrow, and then you start thinking about the possible ways of getting to the moon. I'm not going to get there. Even like sleeping. Try later today when you're going to bed and start telling yourself, I might not fall asleep tonight. I'm telling you, you will not sleep. Because your brain will be telling you, remember you told yourself you're not going to sleep and you try to sleep. Ah, good luck. Power of the mind. I have a story that really illustrates that. When I was in the hospital, few days after amputation, a nurse came in the morning and said, Marco, did you sweat last night? Oh God, well, the nurse was like, did she take something she was supposed to take this morning? Why? I said, your bed is so wet. I said, no, I'm good. She checked some nursing staff and then they're like, okay. She said, oh, Marco, can you push? I was hooked on morphine pump. She said, can you push the morphine pump? I pushed it. And then she's like, look, push it again. She said, look over here, push it. And the morphine pump, I was pushing into the mattress. She's like, yeah, you don't need a morphine pump. She's like, how did you sleep last night? I said, fantastic. Every time I push that morphine pump, it fixed my pain. Because my brain was so ready and like, yes, I am getting what I want. Being in America, this country that I am in, and you guys are lucky, unless there are some of you. Some of you are in America for free. I paid money to be in America. I bought myself here because it's a good place that I knew that, yes, I can invest myself in. So, we are lucky to be in this country. Yes, there are so many challenges like everywhere else, but our challenges does not mean we have to stop where we are. We've come from so far. And where we are headed in the right direction. We are in an era that information can be circulated in microseconds. We have 5G now. Your message is going to go out before you think about it. And that is good. So if you think or we think there's something more that we need, or it's so challenging for us to have many people of color swim. Yes, it's still a challenge, but we are in a country that is positioned itself in a much better position than many, many places on earth. The only thing that we need, I think, is the willingness. What is your heart telling you? How can you influence? How can you mentor that next person, that neighbor who doesn't want to swim? And while I was swimming, learning to swim, and now I am on that process, I also realized one thing, and I'm a big advocate for fitness. And swimming is one of the sports that you're going to be swimming and writing your last wishes on earth. You can't retire from it. So you can remain fit for a long time by being a swimmer. I know there are a lot of good swimmers here, Olympians, and they might tell you, I don't want to go swimming now, but when they feel like they need to release some stress, they are going to jump in the pool and they will know how to swim. So it's like a certificate. Learn how to swim, put it here. When you need it, you can brag about it. Like, you know, I know how to swim. Jump in the pool, swim. I didn't even know you can sweat in the pool too. So there's that too. You do a lot of things. Quick story about myself before I finish this is Kenya. I went to Alaska. Don't ask me that part because Google in 2008 did not work, so I couldn't Google where Alaska was. Landed in Alaska. I was in school in Alaska. All right, I need to finish. So I was in school in Alaska. 2011, I was stuck out. There was an incident that happened, and I'm trying to be sensitive to the language there. So one of my my cousin took his own life. So I was really depressed, but I did not accept that I was depressed. So they took me to a hospital, antidepressants, and then one day, November 2011, took some antidepressants, went for a run. I was able to come back. They looked for me, they couldn't find me. I was able to wheel myself. And it was until I entered this hotel lobby that I knew how long I was out there. Because the guy out there, or in the hotel lobby, asked me, Marco, where have you been for 3 days? And for some of you who live in the north, I was in Vermont in January, and we drove from Boston. And as we were driving further north, we were getting called, and it was like 0, 1. And I was even asking myself, what is 0? I'm kind of digressing a little bit, I know. What is 0? Is that nothing? When the temperature is 0, does that mean there is no temperature? Right. So imagine being out for 3 days, more than 56 hours. So then they could save my feet, so they amputated my feet, and so here I am. So as much as I push for fitness too, I push the mental health too. And I know it's a very sensitive area because we get asked very tough questions. I even remember a doctor asking me, Marco, why did you want to kill yourself? And I'm sitting there going, all right. Without asking the doctor, I'm thinking in my smart head, all right, this is a kid who is trying to survive. And there was nothing, there was no other way you could have asked him so that he gets motivated and know that he's trying so hard. It's just like what we're trying to tackle about diversity and messaging on how can we encourage people to do something without pushing them away while we're thinking we are encouraging. So then I decided, you know what? This is going to be a cool title. You know, we have heart attack warriors. They survived the heart attack usually. I said, new title for myself is this guy who went cuckoo and survived it. So I'm going to be that advocate to say, yes, mental health is real. It's a disease. If it were not a disease, a lot of doctors wouldn't waste, or a lot of people wouldn't waste their money to go and be psychiatrists, right? Yeah, so it's real, but for some of us who are not affected by it too, and I know, you know, there is a responsibility too from like somebody like myself who is willing to talk about it, to be able to teach and provide my feedback on how best we can ask them professionally without stigmatizing them, without asking them questions that they will not be comfortable talking, or somebody will not be able to want to talk more about their mental health. Because in order for you to float, your head needs to be thinking to the tip. To tell you need to be on top of the water. So we cannot separate all like parts of our body, and we cannot tell ourselves, just like the person who is teaching me can't tell me, hey Marco, jump in the pool and learn how to swim. We all need a hand, and we are all where we are today because of someone else's hand. And the best thing we can do is offer that hand to someone else, teach them, tell them. Swimming, and I'm stealing a quote from someone, it's the only sport that will save your life. And it's the only sport that you can swim and swim and swim and even stage a competition with your great grandkids, and you can still be a champion. Thank you very much.
I have to tell you, Marco was in the last session that we were in this afternoon. That whole session was awesome because we just got these stories into this, like, there's a lot of life that have been lived in very few decades in that man. He's got stories for days. So Marco, thank you for being willing to come up here and share with us. So great to hear your stories. And inspiring, because there's no pool within 100 miles of where you're living. and you say you can still swim, it puts into perspective the idea of you can learn how to swim, right? I don't know why we're in the dark up here and you guys are in the light down there, but you all look very beautiful. And Martha's right, I like all the colors, it's a beautiful array. We are going to do some awards now, because I feel like after that feel-good speech, I don't speak really, we are now going to go ahead and do some awards, because this is what we do at the gala all the time. And so we have Dr. Lynch coming back up, because I don't use PowerPoint, I do videos and put it together on TV. I don't know how PowerPoint, we have to do that. Yeah.
DJ. We have a very special guest here, Mr. Manny Banks. For those that do not know, Manny Banks was part of the initiative, the beginning initiative for USA Swimming, and he was one of the founders that worked and started implementing inroads in USA Swimming for DEI efforts. So this is huge. Manny Banks now is working with big corporate and doing big work, and he happened to be here near us doing some work. And so to have family, one thing we at DIA say is, you know, once you're here, you're family. And that's true to it, and Manny is part of that, and so we thank him for taking the time out of his time. Alright, so without further ado.
All my references are old, by the way. That's the other thing I've realized. Oh, no, I'm very outdated. All right, our first award is the Pix Award, and Pix is not here, so I have the honor of giving out this award on his behalf. So this is for Outstanding Leadership and Collaborative Partnership Award. So let's talk about this year's nominees include Adrian Wesley, Evolutionary Aquatics, Kent Yoshiwara, and Victoria Prezia. Am I saying that correctly? Prezia? Is that right? Very good, thank you. So this award is issued to honor an individual or organization for their leadership and their commitment toward organizing community-based programs and partnerships benefiting the least served. So this is the Pix Award, and our winner is Victoria Prezia.
Some of you may know that the exhibition called Pool, Social History of Segregation, flooded the day that it opened after 4 years of working on it. And I was driving home after Ida, hurricane that flooded it, and I was thinking, wow, what is the lesson here? After all of this work, you literally see the space flooded with water, and as I was driving home, I it was so clear. I just actually said that out. I was like, what is the message here? And the universe quickly responded that it was the relationships along the way that were cultivated, that were built. And the exhibition really almost doesn't matter. And it's all digital, so I can say that because you can still see it online, but it was really all of these relationships that made the exhibition possible, including some of the people here today who contributed to this work, including Kathy Dean, Helen Jones, Mary Lynch, Angela Feet, and many others who aren't here today. And I just want to say thank you so much for trusting me with your thoughts and your image. And I take that trust very seriously, and I really look forward to seeing as many of you as possible at the exhibition. And also, honor. Thank you all.
All right, so our next award, I can't help you guys. Our next award is the Jim Ellis Award. Coach Ellis isn't here, but someone who actually swam in his program is here. He's also like one of my dearest friends. We went to college together, swam together. I present to you Dr. Angela Beal Toffee. All your names.
So it is always with esteemed honor that I have an opportunity to actually present the Jim Ellis Award for coaching and educational excellence. And one of the things that is very much a vested interest is giving of yourself, and that is something that we've learned and continue to learn. One of the things that was so eloquently said is that learning to swim can save your life, and that is definitely what Jim Ellis has done for so many and continues to do. And so for me to be a former athlete, I get to he paid it forward so I could be here. And our parents, Mom, thank you for being here. Cheney University, as Jim would say, and in Philadelphia represent, for the ancestry. But it's with great honor when you have a mentor who taught you the importance of swimming and saving your life. He truly meant to save children's lives, not just in the pool, but by fostering the idea of mentorship. And through education, you would be successful in spite of everything. And so as a leader and a coach, we all learn to pay it forward and as it was said, to give to others, to actually be present. So this year's nominees truly represent that. And although we might not be selected, but every one of you that is in this room tonight represents such feats. And so this year's nominees include Mr. Anesti Vega, Coach Johnny Means, Lori Tucker, and Dr. Monica Laporte. And these nominees represent and are recognized. This award recognizes a teacher, a researcher, a aquatic leader, or a coach who has demonstrated exceptional personal achievement and extraordinary accomplishment in the field of aquatics that transcends normal expectation, and who is or was an example of inspiration to their community. And without further ado, this year's award winner of the Jim Ellis Award is Dr. And this is like the Oscars. Dr. Monica Laporte is unable to be with us. But one of the things that I would like to say is the irony and the wonder is that when I was a doctoral student at Florida State University, and I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I wanted to give back, and I looked into the field of adaptive aquatics. Dr. Monica Laporte was at Westchester University, and I called her as a student who didn't know but wanted to give back, and she answered the call. She didn't know who I was, but I was just a kid calling for guidance, and she allowed me to come and observe her at Brockport University in her Camp Abilities swimming camp, which is a camp for individuals with visual and physical and hearing sport disabilities participating in sports and physical activity. So talking about learning how to make a difference, she lives it, she is an expert in the field, and it's an honor to give the award of a mentor to another mentor who has been a mentor in my life also. So thank you on behalf of Dr. Lee.
I enjoyed listening to Dr. Laporte speak earlier today too in your session, so I got to benefit from some of that wisdom that you're talking about. Just in case you're wondering, we had over 4,000 votes on these different awards that you're seeing here tonight. So people are paying attention, they're weighing in, and they're making sure that people who are doing the work are being recognized. And really, I just want to thank all of you for all the work you're doing as we continue on here this evening. Next up, I'm going to call up Lieutenant Ken Rowland, because it is time for Lieutenant Ken Rowland to give his award out for the evening.
All right, hello everybody. Can you hear me out there? And I noticed that when other people were speaking, you couldn't really hear very well on the microphone. Whoa! So I really have a loss for words, right? Award that's very dear to me because it has my name attached to it. This is an award for that special person of color who sets a standard for mankind with their commitment to aquatics, who has lived their life with a passion and bring forth to the world a dream, a vision. You know, the thing is, I live and breathe this stuff. And this is the kind of thing that just gives me joy. But one thing I want to do, first of all, is that, ladies and gentlemen, I want to, I have a very special presentation that I want to do. This is for the young gentleman that has helped me throughout the years to maintain the wonderful, amazing commitment to aquatics. And ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce my son, Mr. Jacob Rowland. I think I heard this song a long time ago with you. Yes, you did. This is the Ken Rowland Legacy Award. I want to make sure that this is something that we're going to always have. And this is my son, this is my legacy. Oh. That award on behalf of Diversity in Aquatics and us here. You want to say a couple of words real quick, and then I can get on to the other award.
Yes, thank you so much. Just set this down here. All right, hope you don't mind. I have a few words here typed up. Okay. So first of all, I just want to say that I'm overwhelmed to receive, with gratitude, this award here, the Ken Rowland Award. Thank you all. First, we started in it was a small, tiny room, and all we have was a projector screen. And now look at us. So going all over the place. So yeah, I spent my whole life in aquatics pretty much ever since I was 6 months old. And you know, being Ken Rowland's son, I didn't really have much of a choice. Right? So he started me in the water at 6 years old. And then I eventually aided in swimming lessons for the Every Child a Swimmer pilot program at 9 years old, which would eventually turn into Swim Central. All right, that's better. I was always around the water, and I was always thankful for it. I felt like it enhanced my childhood. I grew up as what my dad would call a pool rat. I was pretty much raised in the pool. I became a junior lifeguard at 9 years old for the city of Pompano Beach, then transitioned to a lifeguard at the age of 15 for the city of Fort Lauderdale. Later, I became a lifeguard instructor, then a water safety instructor trainer, emergency medical response instructor, and so on. for years I would try to advance my career in aquatics, but I realized I was limited. For some reason, I applied everywhere for a pool manager type job at most of the cities in the Tri-County area in South Florida. I got turned down for pretty much every single one of them. It actually put me in a bad place for a while, but then my dad said, you know, let's focus on our business and grow it so you don't have to work for anybody. You create your own job doing aquatics and teaching life-saving skills. And that's exactly what I've done. And thank you. And at this point, I took a leap of faith, and I haven't looked back. We've trained thousands of people at this point in everything from CPR to lifeguarding and swim lessons. We're trying to make the world a safer place, as all of you are, who share the same passion as us. Now I stand before all of you tonight receiving